प्रेजेंटेड बाय ईबिक्स कैश, हर खुशी के लिए काफी है।
Good evening and welcome. You're with us here on Business Today. I'm Abha Bakaya. Let's take you through the headlines tonight. Third straight day of correction in the market. Sensex falls 287 points to 59,126, down more than 900 points this week. Nifty down 93 to 17,618. Metals, banks, that's where we see the crack. Paras Defence shares could list at 140% premium tomorrow. Lots of excitement in the grey market. We tell you what to do on listing. Gautam Adani, biggest earner last year, increases his wealth by a huge 1,000 crore rupees every day. Mukesh Ambani still on top of the richest Indian list. And Business Today takes a behind-the-scenes look at how the nation's largest private sector bank, Hdfc, is undergoing a tech-led transformation. Later on the show, an exclusive conversation with Intel India country head Nivruti Rai. She talks about the semiconductor shortage and the company's vision for digital India.
It is a big shortage, and the shortage only got accelerated because of this pandemic.
Massive 62% hike in natural gas prices in India. CNG and piped gas to kitchens to get costlier by nearly 10%. Stock markets remain volatile on Thursday. Bulls exercising caution on firming US Treasury bond yields and a strengthening dollar. The Nifty index settling at about 17,618, down about 90 odd points. The sensex also closing down about 280 odd points, close to about 0.5%. Real estate, PSU banks, pharma, some outperformers in trade today. Bajaj Twins in particular looking good. And if we take a look at the downside, Power Grade, Asian Paints, Shree Cement, Axis, Eicher, adding up the losers list for you there. A mixed bag, but about a 2.8% knock on the likes of a Power Grade in today's session. The much anticipated listing of Paras Defence and Space Technologies happens tomorrow, and a lot of speculation as to what price will the share list at. The share price has been set at 175 rupees, and market sources say there is a whopping 250 rupee premium in the grey market on this price, which means that the share is expected to list at 425 rupees. That's a 145% gain for investors in the company. The company raised 171 crore rupees from its IPO, which was subscribed at a record 304 times, the best response for any public offer yet. Gaurang Shah, Senior VP Geojit Financial Services, joining us for more on this. Gaurang, what's the listing expected to be like? Do you anticipate similar excitement that's been seen around the IPO?
So if you go by the historical record that Paras Defence has created, well, what numbers I was, last number was up to 304 times oversubscription. The price range was between 165 to 175, and the allotment is at the higher end, rupees 175. And if you look at the issue size, I guess there is definitely going to be great interest in the IPO. And it is in a very niche sector, that is defense, and in that too, the services that they cater are also of high precision and high technology. So my understanding is that if you go by the historical record, then definitely there is going to be excitement on the listing of Paras Defence. Remains to be seen at what premium it get listed. But if you go by the grey market, I think it was somewhere close to about 200 odd rupees, the grey market premium, if you go by.
Gaurang, what's your advice to the small investor then? Sell, buy or hold?
If there is no need for money, you can definitely hold on to the stock. And like I mentioned, the company is into optical, lenses for defense as well as space. And it's got a strong order book of somewhere about 300 crore plus. And whatever policy decision that the government has put in place in terms of Atmanirbhar Bharat, Make in India, is highly positive for Paras Defence and companies like Paras Defence, though there is no peer competition.
All right, thanks Gaurang for that. Now for some macro indicators released by the government this evening. The fiscal deficit in April to August, the first 5 months of the fiscal year, stood at 4.68 lakh crores. That's 31% of the budgeted target for the whole year. That's much lower than the 109% figure last year when the government was forced to spend more during the COVID pandemic. While net tax receipts were about 8 lakh crore rupees, the total expenditure stood at 12.7 lakh crores. The country's core sector output grew by 11.6% in August versus 9.9% in July. The core sector comprises 8 industries: coal, crude oil, natural gas, electricity, refinery products, fertilizer, steel and cement. That makes up 40% of the industrial growth figures. The highest growth was seen in cement, coal and natural gas. The country's second largest bank, Hdfc Bank, which was under fire from banking regulator RBI for repeated technology glitches, claims that it's now transforming into a fintech giant. And this is the cover story of the latest issue of Business Today magazine. Here's the story by Anand Adhikari.
So, इसमें क्या है कि यहाँ हमारा basic objective है.
The transition from Aditya Puri, the man who led Hdfc Bank for 26 years, making it largest Indian bank by market capitalization, to his successor has not been an easy one.
I find it a great benefit that
When Puri stepped down last October, India had been hit by one round of COVID. The economic outlook was uncertain and the banking sector was one of the worst hit. Hdfc Bank was particularly vulnerable, having been censured by RBI for various technical glitches. Shashidhar Jagdishan had to step into this maze, and as the Business Today magazine article says, has been able to navigate his way through the past year. His vision: to be seen as a technology company with a banking license.
I got a running bank, 16 million plus customers, number 1 or number 2 by transaction and by value in all the segments in which the bank operates. The task is to build new platforms, digital infrastructure, etc. And then the third task is how do you ensure that they merge finally to see that it's one organization.
So what is Hdfc Bank doing differently? For starters, benchmarking its legacy information technology infrastructure to global standards, adopting a multiple cloud strategy with scalable capacity, ready for new open banking models, as well as increasing focus on retail, MSME and the rural business. And to supplement these changes, the bank is also looking at partnerships.
I see fintechs as a great value add to the industry. They are coming up with new brand ideas, putting even scheduled banks and management to try and get more agile. It only helps the industry, Adhikari. More competition, more players add value and create value for the customer. And the more value you create, the market grows.
Fintechs are a great value addition to the industry and the market grows. What it means for the customer is easy, hassle-free access to even the more complicated procedures like auto loans and better payment solutions. With Anand Adhikari, Bureau Report, Business Today Television.
Anand Adhikari, Managing Editor, Business Today magazine, joining us for more on this. Anand, what is going to be the reaction when it comes to retail investors to the transformation in Hdfc Bank? Will it again be the darling of the stock markets?
See, the investors in the stock market are very cautious on the Hdfc Bank. The RBI's ban on launching new digital product after the repeated IT outages has also impacted the sentiment in the stock market. The entire digital transformation, which the new management is now talking, will take 18 to 24 months. There is also a leadership change from iconic Aditya Puri, who built the bank from scratch, to Shashidhar Jagdishan. In fact, Shashi has inherited a bank which is the country's second largest bank in terms of assets after SBI. So market is keenly watching Shashi's leadership before taking any long-term bet in the stock. The retail banking, which is a high-margin business, has also slowed down in the last 2 years. The wholesale book, which consists of large corporate and MSME, has grown from 49% to now 53%. But the wholesale business is a very low-margin business. So all these concerns are, currently get reflected in the stock market, where the bank's stock hasn't performed very well.
Anand, thanks so much for joining us on that story. The IIFL Wealth Hurun India Rich List 2021 was released today. Let's take a look at who are the top wealth creators in the country and at what velocity have these bigwigs been creating wealth. Let's pull up the first on the list for you. No surprises there. Mukesh Ambani coming in at number 1. Lots of zeros, and his average earnings per day 163 crores, which when you see the rest of the list is actually the per day number is actually moderate compared to some of the others. Let's pull up number 2. Gautam Adani coming in at number 2, earnings per day at 1,000 crores there. And wealth generated of coming in as well. Shiv Nadar and family remaining on the rich list, 260 crores per day. That's the earnings per day for the last year. Number 4 coming up on your screen. We've got SP Hinduja and family, 2,20,000 crore rupees for 2021. Number 5. Ellen Mittal, still very much entrenched on the rich list. Ellen Mittal and family of ArcelorMittal with an earning per day figure coming in at 312 crore rupees. With the festive season entering its busiest period, hope is emerging among investors that the auto sector could stage a turnaround. But with fast liquidating stock and lower production due to shortage of microchips, the Indian car market is staring at a possibility of a lackluster festive season.
Since last week, shares of auto companies are on the roll. But the outlook among the dealers for the festive season is not the one of confidence. In the last few months, the industry has been suffering from a dearth of semiconductor chips. One of the main reasons for this shortage is the disruption in the global semiconductor supply chain due to COVID. Automakers like Maruti, Toyota, Hyundai and Mahindra have already announced that their cars are going to be costlier from next month. The country's largest car maker, Maruti Suzuki, in fact, has increased its car price thrice in this calendar year itself. Experts say that the waiting period for car models are more than 2 months, and this could even extend up to 7 months for models in demand. The opening up of the economy post the second wave of COVID-19 has led to a V-shaped recovery for the overall passenger vehicle market. And it is the supply and not the demand that is likely to cause longer waiting periods, which will impact consumer sentiment for months to come. Bureau Report, Business Today Television.
Nivruti Rai, country head Intel India, says that going forward, there is huge demand for raw materials and for companies building design tools and IPs. She says the ecosystem for software and design changing rapidly over the next 5 years. As discussed during the Quad Summit recently in the US, attended by the Prime Minister himself, Nivruti does acknowledge the global chip shortage and says that it has been a big fallout of the pandemic. However, she says that many complex chips are being designed out of India and capacity is being increased to keep up with demand and growth. The big shortage of semiconductor chips that we've been seeing, and it's really been holding captive the auto industry, for instance, and having other implications across the board. Share with us really what's happening there for our audience. What's the current status as well of semiconductor manufacturing in India? When do you see the shortage ending?
Okay, so wonderful question. Semiconductor shortage is a story that everybody is talking about. The Quad, recently our Prime Minister's trip to US talked about it. It is a big shortage.
Okay.
And the shortage only got accelerated because of this pandemic, because everywhere there was a need. Wherever you're driving digitization, wherever you're driving compute, wherever you're driving transmission or storage, you need semiconductors. So everybody's need quadrupled. Not only need got quadrupled, people started procuring these chips and saving it. And it created this, shortages around the world to an extent that auto companies were looking at shutting down because the cars wouldn't be able to sell.
In terms of, numbers or in terms of outlook, potential, give us some kind of indication, as to how you were perhaps hit during the pandemic vis-a-vis how growth is back on track and really what the future potential is looking like? Any indication of the kind of growth that you anticipate on the back of some of the strategies you've outlined?
Sure. So, Amma, I actually didn't suffer in the pandemic. In fact, we continued business as usual. In fact, we grew during the pandemic also and continuing to grow. With the new charter that I have to help enable Intel's foundry aspirations, I'm growing. I'm growing on a daily basis. But the difference that the pandemic has done is when we come back full force to work out of campus, we will have a hybrid model. So therein, if I have a hybrid model, I have 30% immediate increase in capacity to seat my people. So I'm looking at hybrid model as an opportunity. I have almost grown during the pandemic. The impact of pandemic otherwise from humanitarian perspective was very bad on us. From business perspective, we were growing because our client business, which means the laptop, desktop, grew significantly to the tune of 20+%, which means we had to continue to grow to build those user equipment that I talked about in the framework from cloud to user equipment. And I'm continuing to grow because Foundry is a new charter that we have out of India, and we'll continue to build the R&D. I'm growing from strength to strength to strength. Whether it is in the network space, we are trying to drive a lot of 5G enablement for Airtel and Reliance. Both the companies are working beautifully in tandem with us to enable virtualization for RAN or open RAN, flex RAN kind of solutions. We are working with them. With Reliance, we are working on AI technologies. We are working on cloud technology. So it's an amazing opportunity. All this digitization will require more cloud, more network, more edge, and more devices. And we have, a lot to win as a country, India, and Intel to enable the growth.
Fabulous. Nivruti, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us here on Business Today. Indian social e-commerce company Meesho has raised $570 million. The big investors are Fidelity Management and B Capital Group. The fresh round of fundraising has doubled the company's valuation to $4.9 billion in less than 5 months. Global Health Limited, which operates Medanta Hospitals, has filed a DRHP for an IPO with market regulator SEBI. The IPO consists of a fresh equity issue of 500 crore rupees and an offer for sale of up to 48.44 million shares by existing promoters and shareholders, which includes Dr. Naresh Trehan. Swedish mobile phone directory and caller identification service Truecaller will start trading on Nasdaq Stockholm from October 8th. The company is likely to be valued at between $1.9 to $2.4 billion after the listing. India leading electric vehicle manufacturer Ola Electric has raised over $200 million. The fundraise was led by the investors from SoftBank and Falcon Edge. This development now values the EV manufacturer at $3 billion. Bharti Airtel announced on Thursday it will invest 5,000 crores to scale up its data center business. It also unveiled a new brand identity for its data center business, Nextra by Airtel. The expansion will include new data center parks in key metro cities. Nextra currently operates 10 large and 120 edge data centers located all over India. It also manages critical submarine landing stations. The data center business has been an investment magnet recently, with Adani Enterprises also entering this space.
So today we are launching and announcing this entity, Nextra, which is an independent entity solely focused onto the data center business, and it is supported by Airtel. India is going to be one of the biggest hub, not only for domestic customers, but for Asia Pac and the SAARC and the Middle East region as well. We are announcing a new investment of around 5,000 crore in next 3 to 4 years' time.
TS Global Holdings, a subsidiary of Tata Steel, divested its entire stake in Nat Steel Holdings for an equity value of 1,275 crore rupees. This deal was executed with definitive agreements with Top Tip Holding, which is a Singapore-based steel and iron ore trading company. The company has said that the received consideration will be used for the reduction of offshore debt. As Maharashtra announced it will reopen theatres and multiplexes from 22nd of October, we analyze the impact and total loss caused to the industry by the long-standing lockdown woes of the business of cinema.
The world is arming faster than we can respond.
Where's 007?
I need a favor, brother. You're the only one I trust for this.
007 is back, ushering with him the Achhe Din for the cinema industry in the country.
So stay in your lane. You get in my way, I will put a bullet in your knee.
The past 18 months have been the darkest period ever for cinemas in India, forced to shut doors because of recurring COVID lockdowns. But October will bring festive cheer, both for cinemas and movie fans. A slew of films are waiting to be released. After No Time to Die comes Akshay Kumar's starer Atarangi Re, John Abraham's Chor Nikal Ke Bhaga, Kareena Kapoor's Veere Di Wedding Part 2, Manoj Vajpayee's Mughal Road. It's a big relief for theatre owners who've been accumulating losses for the past year and a half. Just in Maharashtra, losses have touched nearly 5,000 crore rupees since March 2020. The losses this year in 2021 have touched 2,000 crore rupees. The state home to Bollywood accounts for an estimated 25 to 30% of Hindi box office collections. It also contributes to 40% of the box office collections of English movies in India. But it's not all doom and gloom for the film business anymore, as Maharashtra has announced the resumption in the operations of movie theatres starting October 22nd. As the news trickled in, around 20 movies were announced in a period of 24 hours.
A lot of cheerfulness for the entire film industry and also the audiences. Not just the trade and the industry, but even the employees and families are very, very happy as we have had some sleepless 18 months and tough times during the last 18 months when the cinema halls were shut down all across the country.
While an enormous response is expected from the audiences with pent-up demand, the industry and the viewers will be on the edge of their seats with regard to the third COVID wave, as the business has big bucks on stake. Bureau Report, Business Today TV.
And before we wrap up, a look at what the 5 most active cryptocurrencies look like today. Here's our chart powered by CoinDCX. And that's how we leave it on the show tonight. Thanks so much for watching.